Hello, my brave friends, and welcome back to my channel, where we journey into the shadows to uncover the stories that haunt our world. Tonight, I'll be guiding you through 20 of the most haunted places in the United States, where history, tragedy, and restless spirits collide. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, prepare yourself, and let's step into the unknown together. The Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, stands as one of America's most famous and most unsettling landmarks, perched against the breathtaking backdrop of the Rocky Mountains. Its grand white facade gleams in the daylight, drawing in visitors with promises of luxury, history, and a touch of mystery. But when the sun dips behind the mountains and the corridors fall into shadow, an entirely different atmosphere takes over. The air grows heavy, the halls echo with whispers of the past, and the boundary between the living and the dead seems to blur. Opened in 1909 by entrepreneur freelance Oscar Stanley, the hotel was designed to be a lavish retreat for wealthy guests seeking the crisp, restorative mountain air. Stanley himself had moved to the area in hopes that the clean climate would help cure his tuberculosis. Whether it was the mountain air or sheer determination, Stanley recovered, and the hotel became his legacy. Over the decades, it hosted presidents, celebrities, and countless travelers. Yet, beneath the surface of elegance and charm, the building seemed to collect more than just visitors. It began to gather stories, strange, unexplainable, and chilling. One of the most enduring legends of the Stanley Hotel involves the sound of piano music drifting through the empty ballroom late at night. Guests and staff have reported hearing delicate melodies, as though an unseen performer were seated at the grand piano, fingers dancing effortlessly over the keys. Some believe this is the spirit of Flora Stanley, Freeland's wife, who was known for her love of music and often entertained guests with her playing. Witnesses claim the notes sound warm and inviting, though tinged with a sadness that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. The music stops abruptly if anyone dares to enter the ballroom, leaving behind only the echo of silence. In other corners of the hotel, visitors speak of shadowy figures moving just beyond the edge of sight. Long, dimly lit hallways seem to stretch forever, their antique wallpaper and creaking floorboards trapping the scent of a bygone era. Guests often describe a fleeting glimpse of someone dressed in early 20th century clothing, only to find no one there when they turn to look. These shadow people are never clearly visible, yet their presence is undeniable. Some speculate they are former staff, forever tending to their duties in the afterlife. Others think they may be guests who never checked out, caught in a loop of time that refuses to release them. Perhaps the most unsettling reports come from those who have felt an unseen hand brush against them in an empty room. Visitors describe the sensation as light, almost like a gentle tap on the shoulder or a playful tug at their clothing. Some have felt icy fingers graze their skin, sending shivers down their spine. While a few dismiss these experiences as tricks of the mind, others leave the Stanley convinced they have been touched by someone or something that no longer walks among the living. The spirits of Freeland and Flora Stanley are said to be the most benevolent presences within the hotel. Guests and paranormal investigators claim they linger to watch over the property they loved so dearly. Freeland is rumored to appear in the lobby or on the grand staircase, dressed in a crisp black suit and bow tie. Witnesses describe him as calm, with a faint smile, as though he's still welcoming guests to his mountain sanctuary. Flora, on the other hand, is said to remain close to the piano in the ballroom, perhaps ensuring her music continues to fill the halls. But while the Stanleys may offer a kind of ghostly hospitality, other entities are not so warm. Room 217 has become infamous among thrill-seekers and ghost hunters. It's here that guests report the most frequent and intense paranormal activity. In 1911, a housekeeper named Elizabeth Wilson was seriously injured in a gas explosion in this very room. Though she survived and continued to work at the hotel for years, many believe her spirit never left. Visitors staying in 217 have spoken of their belongings being mysteriously unpacked, their shoes lined up neatly by the bed, and lights flickering without cause. Some claim they've awoken in the night to find an invisible presence standing over them, watching silently. Strangely, The energy in room 217 is not often described as malicious, more as if Elizabeth is still tending to her duties, making sure every guest feels looked after, whether they want to be or not. The Stanley Hotel's eerie reputation was cemented in popular culture after author Stephen King visited in 1974. He and his wife arrived just as the hotel was preparing to close for the winter, and they were the only overnight guests. That night, King wandered the empty corridors, his imagination running wild with the isolation, the silence, and the strange energy in the air. By morning, he had the seed of an idea that would become his best-selling novel, The Shining. Though King's story is fictional, the real-life Stanley has embraced its connection to the tale, attracting horror fans from around the world. Today, the hotel offers ghost tours that guide visitors through its most haunted spots, sharing both its history and its spectral legends. Paranormal investigators frequently bring their equipment to capture unexplained sounds, images, and fluctuations in electromagnetic fields. Many leave with recordings of faint voices, unexplained orbs of light in photographs, and personal stories they can't quite explain. Yet, for all the chilling encounters, the Stanley Hotel remains undeniably beautiful. Its sweeping verandas overlook pristine mountain views. The grand staircase glows beneath the light of crystal chandeliers, and every room is steeped in vintage charm. It is this strange balance between elegance and unease that keeps people coming back. Guests arrive for the history, for the romance of the mountains, and for the thrill of maybe, just maybe, glimpsing a world beyond the one they know. Those who have experienced the Stanley-esque ghostly side often leave with a sense of respect rather than fear. They speak of feeling as though the past is still alive, there, woven into the fabric of the building itself. The creaks, whispers, and flickers of light are not just random phenomena. They are reminders that some stories never truly end. The Stanley Hotel stands as a monument to both human ambition and the mysteries that linger long after the last guest checks out. And whether the spirits within its walls are welcoming or warning, they ensure that no one who visits ever forgets the experience. Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, is a place where history and haunting intertwine. Opened in 1829, it was once considered a revolutionary experiment in prison design and reform. Its imposing Gothic architecture, with towering stone walls and endless arched corridors, was meant to inspire repentance in prisoners through solitude and reflection. At the time, it was hailed as a humane alternative to the brutal conditions of other jails. But behind its innovative reputation lay a darker reality, a place where isolation broke spirits. Silence, masked suffering, and despair clung to the very air. The prison was designed on a radial plan, with long cell blocks stretching outward like spokes from a central hub. Each prisoner was kept in a small cell, alone, with minimal human contact. Meals were delivered through a small slot, and even exercise took place in individual yards. Guards wore soft shoes to move silently, ensuring inmates had no sense of connection to the outside world. While this was intended to encourage penitence, it often led to mental breakdowns. Over the decades, the penitentiary housed thousands of inmates, from petty thieves to infamous criminals like Al Capone. The stone wall saw countless acts of desperation, anger, and sorrow, emotions that some believe have never truly left. Today, Eastern State is no longer an active prison, having closed in 1971, but it has gained new life as one of the most haunted locations in the United States. Its crumbling cell blocks, rusted iron gates, and peeling paint create an atmosphere that feels trapped in time. Visitors describe the unsettling sense of being watched as they wander through the decaying halls. It's as if the energy of the prisoners, those who suffered, those who raged, and those who never left, still lingers in the shadows. Paranormal reports are frequent and varied. Investigators have captured sudden drops in temperature in otherwise warm rooms, unexplained footsteps echoing in empty corridors, and disembodied voices calling out from abandoned cells. Doors have been known to slam shut with no breeze to move them. Many have heard faint whispers in the dead of night, their words impossible to make out, but their intent chillingly clear. someone or something is trying to be heard. One of the prison's most active areas is cell block 12, known for its high concentration of shadow figures. People claim to have seen dark silhouettes darting from cell to cell, always just beyond the reach of the flashlight beam. Some of these figures are human-sized, while others are smaller and seem to crawl along the floor, vanishing into the walls. The oppressive atmosphere in this part of the prison often drives visitors to leave abruptly, their nerves frayed by the feeling that they are not alone. But among all the spirits said to roam Eastern State, one stands out as the most famous, the ghost known as Willie. Described as a shadowy figure who moves through the darkened cell blocks, Willie has been spotted by both staff and visitors alike. He is often seen standing at the far end of a corridor, his outline hazy, as though he is half hidden in another realm. Witnesses say he watches silently, unmoving, before slipping away into the darkness. Some believe Willie was once an inmate whose time in solitary confinement shattered his mind, binding him to the prison long after death. Others think he may be a manifestation of the collective sorrow that hangs over the place, an embodiment of all the broken lives within its walls. Those who encounter Willie often describe an overwhelming sense of dread. In some cases, electronic equipment malfunctions and his presence batteries drain instantly. Cameras refuse to focus, and audio devices record bursts of static or faint, moaning sounds. A few investigators claim to have followed Willie's figure only to find themselves inexplicably disoriented, as if the very layout of the prison had shifted around them. Other notorious hotspots include Cell Block 6, where ghostly faces are said to appear suddenly in the narrow windows, and Cell Block 4, where heavy footsteps can be heard pacing back and forth, even when the area is completely empty. In the old exercise yards, people report the sensation of someone walking beside them, only for the air to grow cold and the presence to vanish. The penitentiary also has a reputation for what paranormal experts call residual hauntings. These are like echoes of the past sights and sounds that repeat without interaction. Visitors have heard the metallic clang of cell doors slamming shut, followed by the rattle of keys and the muffled cries of inmates, as if an unseen guard were making his rounds in a time that no longer exists. These moments fade as quickly as they appear, leaving witnesses shaken and questioning their senses. Eastern State's haunted reputation has drawn countless paranormal investigators, historians, and curious tourists. The site has been featured on television programs, in documentaries, and in books about the supernatural. Some visitors arrive skeptically, expecting nothing more than a decaying old prison. Yet many leave with personal stories of unexplained encounter, stories that mirror those told for decades. The prison's ghost tours, particularly at night, offer a chance to step into its eerie world. Guides share tales of past inmates, mysterious sightings, and chilling first-hand accounts. As the light fades and the corridors fall into shadow, the temperature often drops sharply. In that stillness, every creak of the old stone, every distant echo, feels amplified. Even the bravest admit that the sensation of unseen eyes following you is hard to shake, while skeptics may argue that the strange phenomena are products of suggestion and imagination. Believers point to the sheer volume of consistent reports over the years. The combination of tragic history, intense emotions, and prolonged suffering seems to have left an indelible mark on Eastern State Penitentiary. The question is not whether the prison is haunted, but by whom and why they remain. Some think the spirits are trapped, unable to move on due to unfinished business or lingering guilt. Others suggest that the penitentiary itself, with its harsh isolation and heavy atmosphere, acts like a container, holding on to the energy of those who once lived on, died within its walls. Whatever the explanation, the result is a place that feels alive in ways a ruin should not. Eastern State Penitentiary is a testament to the complexity of human history. It was built with ideals of reform, yet became a site of suffering. It stands as a historical landmark, yet pulses with the whispers of the past. Whether visitors come seeking history, architecture, or a brush with the supernatural, one thing is certain: when you walk through its towering gates and into the shadowed cell, you carry a piece of it with you long after you leave. Some say that if you're very quiet and very lucky or unlucky, you might just meet Willie, watching from the darkness, reminding you that the walls of Eastern State never truly let go of those they hold. The Queen Mary rests in the harbor of Long Beach, California, her massive hull casting a shadow over the water as the sun dips below the horizon. Once a luxurious ocean liner that carried celebrities, dignitaries, and soldiers across the Atlantic, she now sits still, retired from her days at sea. But while the engines have been silent for decades, the ship's interior hums with something else entirely, unsettling energy, as if echoes of the past still move through her decks. During her service, from 1936 to 1967, the Queen Mary saw both glamour and tragedy. In her early years, she was the pride of British maritime engineering, offering first-class luxury to the world's elite. Yet when World War II erupted, the ship was transformed into a military transport vessel. Painted gray and dubbed the Gray Ghost, she carried thousands of troops, sometimes in perilous conditions, and tragedy struck more than once. Accidents at sea, onboard mishaps, and even rumored murders became part of her dark history. Some say those moments left permanent stains that no amount of time can wash away. Today, walking the length of her narrow hallways feels like stepping back in time and, sometimes, according to witnesses, not alone. Crew members and guests alike have reported phantom footsteps echoing in the deserted corridors. These aren't the soft creaks of an old ship settling. They're sharp, deliberate steps, as though someone invisible is pacing alongside you. Voices drift through empty staterooms, muffled conversations and accents from another era. Though opening the door reveals nothing but still air and neatly made beds. One of the most famous apparitions is known as the Lady in the Blue Dress. She's been seen on multiple decks, always wearing an elegant 1940s style gown, her hair perfectly styled. Some witnesses say she appears in the ship's former lounge areas, gliding silently as if attending an evening gala. Others claim she materializes in the first-class pool, standing at the edge before vanishing into thin air. No one knows her true identities. Some believe she was a passenger who died tragically aboard, while others think she's an echo of the ship's glamorous past, forever lingering where she felt most alive. The ship's swimming pools themselves have long been closed, yet they remain among the most haunted areas. The first-class pool, with its Art Deco tiles and long empty diving platforms, is said to be the site of ghostly splashes and the sound of bare feet running along the deck. In the second-class pool, laughter of unseen children echoes in the still, humid air. Some paranormal investigators have even captured strange, misty shapes on camera in these rooms. Though the pools have been dry for decades, not all the spirits aboard seem friendly. Certain cabins have been deemed too haunted for guests to stay in, their doors permanently locked. Lights flickering wildly, and sudden cold spots so intense they make the skin prickle. Stories suggest the cabin may have been the scene of a murder, though official records are vague. Staff members tasked with cleaning it have reported hearing growling voices and feeling as though something was watching them from the shadows. The engine room, once the beating heart of the ship, is another hotspot for paranormal encounters. Massive steel machinery now sits silent, but visitors have claimed to hear the rhythmic thumping of non-existent engines and to see shadowy figures darting between the pipes. The infamous Door 13, a watertight hatch in the engine room, is tied to one of the ship's most tragic accidents. And since then, guests have reported seeing a man in greasy overalls lurking near the door only for him to vanish when approached. The Queen Mary's wartime service adds another layer to her supernatural reputation. In 1942, while serving as a troopship, she accidentally collided with and sank the HMS Curacao, a British light cruiser, killing over 300 sailors. Survivors reported hearing the screams of the dying as the Queen Mary steamed on under wartime orders not to stop. Some visitors now claim to hear the cries of men in the water when standing on certain parts of the deck late at night, the sounds mingling with the soft slap of the harbor waves. Even the ship's grand ballroom, once a place of music and laughter, carries a spectral presence. Guests have heard the faint sound of a piano playing, though the room is empty. Paranormal teams have captured audio of clinking glasses and applause, as if a long-forgotten party is still underway behind the walls of the present. Those who spend the night aboard often wake with strange stories of their own. Some describe feeling a hand gently brushing their hair or tugging at the blankets, only to find no one there. Others speak of waking in the early hours to see a figure standing at the foot of the bed, dressed in outdated clothing, staring silently before fading away. Today, she serves as a floating hotel, museum, and popular destination for paranormal enthusiasts. Ghost tours wind through her dimly lit corridors, each guide sharing the ship's eerie history alongside accounts of unexplained events. Guests arrive with curiosity, but many leave with a deeper respect for the mysteries that linger within her steel walls. Whether the spirits aboard are remnants of her glamorous past, the echoes of wartime sacrifice, or something darker entirely, one thing is certain: the Queen Mary carries more than just the weight of her history. She carries the restless presence of those who never truly left, their stories woven into the creak of her floors and the whisper of the ocean beyond. And for those who listen closely, in the quiet of the night, the Queen Mary still speaks. Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky, is a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural collide. Once a beacon of hope for those suffering from tuberculosis, it has become one of the most infamous haunted locations in the United States. Its towering brick structure sits atop a hill, isolated from the city, casting a shadow that seems to hold both the weight of sorrow and the promise of mystery. Today, its darkened hallways and echoing chambers attract ghost hunters, historians, and thrill-seekers, each hoping to catch a glimpse or a sound of the spirits said to linger within. The story of Waverly Hills begins in the early 20th century, when tuberculosis, known at the time as the White Plague, was a deadly and incurable disease. In 1910, the original two-story hospital was built to treat a small number of patients, but the epidemic quickly overwhelmed it. By 1926, the larger, five-story Waverly Hills Sanatorium opened its doors, designed to care for hundreds of patients. Its position atop the hill was chosen for fresh air, which doctors believed was essential for treatment. Sunrooms, open air, porches, and large windows filled the building, creating an airy environment meant to encourage recovery. But despite the efforts of doctors and nurses, the disease claimed thousands of lives within those walls. Treatments were often experimental and, by modern standards, brutal lung surgeries, ultraviolet light therapy, and painful procedures that rarely brought relief. Patients who entered Waverly Hills often knew they might never leave. The hospital became not just a place of healing, but a place where hope and despair existed side by side. One of the most chilling features of the sanatorium is the so-called body chute, officially known as the death tunnel. This long, sloping passageway stretched from the hospital down to a railway at the bottom of the hill. When a patient died, their body was placed on a gurney and wheeled through the tunnel, hidden from the sight of other patients. This was done to prevent the living from losing hope. But the reality was grim. Over the years, thousands of corpses were moved through that chute. The dark, narrow tunnel is now one of the most haunted spots in the building. Visitors report hearing the sound of footsteps behind them, whispers in the darkness, and even seeing shadowy figures at the far end of the passage, watching silently. Shadow figures are a constant presence in the lore of Waverly Hills. They are said to dart across hallways, linger in doorways, or follow visitors from room to room. Some are described as tall, dark, humanoid shapes, while others are smaller and quicker. Many investigators believe these are the spirits of patients who died in the hospital, while others suspect they might be something far older and more mysterious, drawn to the sanatorium's history of suffering. Screams are another common phenomenon reported by those who dare to enter. In the dead of night, when the wind rattles the broken windows and silence falls over the building, sudden cries echo through the halls. They vary from muffled sobs to blood-curdling shrieks. Some believe these are the voices of patients in their final moments, while others think they could be the echoes of pain imprinted on the building itself, what paranormal experts call a residual haunting. The sensation of being watched is perhaps the most unnerving experience visitors describe. In certain areas of Waverly Hills, especially on the upper floors and in the old treatment rooms, guests feel an intense, almost physical awareness of unseen eyes following their every move. This oppressive feeling can grow so strong that some people refuse to continue the tour, retreating to the safety of the outside. Paranormal investigators have recorded unexplained spikes in electromagnetic fields in these locations, suggesting the presence of something unseen yet undeniably present. One of the most famous ghost stories tied to Waverly Hills is that of room 502. In 1928, a nurse was reportedly found hanging from a light fixture in that room, an apparent suicide. Rumors suggest she took her life after discovering she was pregnant and unmarried, a scandal in that era. A few years later, another nurse allegedly jumped to her death from the same room's balcony. Visitors who enter room 500 often report feelings of overwhelming sadness, dizziness, and nausea. Some claim to see the figure of a woman in a nurse's uniform standing in the corner, silently staring before fading away. The children's ward is another area that leaves a lasting impression. Waverly Hills treated patients of all ages, and children suffering from tuberculosis were given toys and games to help lift their spirits. Today, visitors sometimes hear the sound of a ball bouncing down the hallway or faint giggles echoing from empty rooms. One spirit, nicknamed Timmy, is said to interact with guests who bring toys, rolling balls back to them as if still eager to play. Over the years, countless paranormal investigators, television crews, and researchers have explored Waverly Hills. Many have left with chilling evidence photos, capturing misty human shapes, recordings of voices answering questions, and sudden cold spots that defy explanation. Skeptics argue that the building's age, acoustics, and suggestive atmosphere could account for some experiences. Yet even the most doubtful admit that there is something unusual about the sanatorium's energy, something that lingers long after you've left its halls. During daylight hours, the building's crumbling walls and broken windows tell the story of time's passage. Nature has begun to reclaim parts of the structure, vines creeping along the bricks, sunlight casting eerie patterns through the glassless frames. But at night, the atmosphere changes completely. Darkness swallows the corridors, and every sound, whether a creak, a whisper, or a distant thud, feels loaded with intent. Waverly Hills stands as a monument to both human resilience and the inevitability of death. It is a place where thousands fought for their lives, where hope was sometimes rewarded but more often denied. The building seems to have absorbed the fear, sorrow, and desperation of those years, holding them in its walls like a memory that refuses to fade. Whether the spirits that roam its halls are truly the souls of those who died there, or something else entirely, is a question that may never be answered. For those brave enough to enter, Waverly Hills Sanatorium offers more than a ghost story yet. Offers an encounter with history's darker side. The screams, the shadows, and the unseen watchers serve as reminders that some places cannot be emptied by time alone. And in the quiet moments, when the air feels too still and the darkness seems to press in, you might just hear the faint echo of a gurney rolling down the body chute, carrying another patient to their final rest. The Limp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri, is a grand but somber reminder that wealth and success cannot shield a family from tragedy. Once the luxurious home of the Limp family, owners of one of the most successful breweries in the United States during the 19th century, the mansion now stands as one of America's most haunted locations. Its stately facade and ornate interior still impress visitors, but behind its beauty lies a history steeped in despair, loss, and an unshakable sadness that seems to have left a permanent mark on the building. The Limp family's fortune began with Johann Adam Limp, a German immigrant who founded the Western Brewery in the mid-1800s. His son, William Limp Sr., expanded the business into a beer empire, producing the famous Falstaff beer and dominating the St. Louis brewing scene. At the height of their success, the Limps lived in luxury, and their mansion reflected their status. An elegant home filled with fine furnishings, artwork, and all the modern conveniences of the era. But behind the wealth and prestige, the family's story took a dark turn. In 1901, Frederick Lemp, William Sr.'s youngest and favorite son, died suddenly at the age of 28. His death devastated the family patriarch, who never recovered from the loss. Just 3 years later, in 1904, William Sr. took his own life in the mansion, shooting himself in the head in his bedroom. This was the first of a series of suicides that would come to define the family's legacy. After William Sr.'s death, the business passed to his son, William Billy Lemp Jr. But the brewery soon faced insurmountable challenges. Prohibition in the 1920s destroyed much of the company's revenue, and by 1922, the once powerful brewery was forced to close. Billy, unable to cope with the loss of the family business and the decline of their fortune, retreated into the mansion, ending his life with a gunshot in his office. The tragedies did not end there. In 1943, Charles Lemp, another of William Sr.'s sons, who had become a reclusive and eccentric figure, shot himself in his bedroom after years of isolation. In 1949, the last Lemp family member to live in the house, Edwin Lemp, died of natural causes, but by then, the family name had become synonymous with sorrow. The mansion itself, now a restaurant and inn, is a place where many believe the spirits of the Lemp family still linger. Guests, staff, and paranormal investigators have reported a variety of unsettling experiences over the years. One of the most common claims is the appearance of shadowy figures drifting through the halls. These figures are often seen out of the corner of the eye, tall, human-shaped silhouettes that seem to vanish when looked at directly. Some believe these shadows belong to the Lemps themselves, pacing through the home they once loved, still bound to it in death. Footsteps are another frequent phenomenon. In the stillness of the night, visitors have heard the distinct sound of heavy boots moving across the wooden floors, often on the upper levels when no one else is there. Sometimes the footsteps are accompanied by the faint creak of doors opening or closing, though upon inspection, the doors remain locked or unchanged. Perhaps the most unnerving reports involve physical contact from unseen hands. Guests have described feeling a sudden grip on their arm or shoulder while walking through a dim hallway, only to turn and find no one behind them. Others have felt a cold hand brush against their back or a tug at their clothing. These encounters often leave people rattled, the sensation lingering long after the moment has passed. One area of the mansion said to be particularly active is the main staircase. Many claim to feel a sense of dread while ascending it, as though watched by invisible eyes from the upper landing. Some have even reported seeing the apparition of a man standing at the top, believed by some to be William Sr., keeping silent vigil over his home. Another hotspot is the former office of Billy Lemp Jr., where he ended his life. Visitors entering this room often speak of an oppressive heaviness in the air, as if the walls themselves remember the despair that filled them. Paranormal investigators have captured unexplained cold spots and even disembodied voices, short phrases like "leave" or "get out" on their audio recordings. There are also stories of a spirit, sometimes referred to as the Lavender Lady, believed to be one of the Lemp women. She has been seen wearing a purple or lavender gown, drifting silently through the mansion. Witnesses say she appears sad, her head bowed, before disappearing into thin air. Some believe she mourns not only her own lost loved ones, but the downfall of the family as a whole. Adding to the building's eerie atmosphere is the story of the monkey-faced boy, a supposed illegitimate son of Billy Lemp Jr., rumored to have been born with physical deformities and kept hidden away in the attic. While historical evidence for this story is sparse, many visitors to the attic claim to feel an overwhelming sadness there, as well as hearing soft, shuffling noises or the sound of something small moving in the shadows. The Lemp Mansion has been investigated by countless paranormal teams, many of whom have left with compelling evidence. Photographs have captured unexplained mists, strange orbs, and even what appear to be human figures in areas known to be empty. Audio recorders have picked up faint cries, whispers. Despite its haunted reputation, the Lemp Mansion retains an undeniable beauty. Its carved woodwork, antique furnishings, and period transport visitors back to its heyday. Yet this elegance only seems to make the contrast sharper when the lights dim and the shadows grow long. The laughter and music of its grand past have been replaced by whispers and footsteps from another time. Those who visit often leave with the same impression, that the Limps have never truly left their home. Whether they remain out of love, regret, or a refusal to move on, their presence is felt in every creak of the floorboards and every chill in the air. The mansion is more than just a historical landmark. It's a memorial to a family's rise and fall. For those who step inside, the Lemp Mansion offers a glimpse into a story where wealth and power could not prevent heartbreak, and where love for a home may have bound its inhabitants to it forever. Visitors may come for the history or the fine dining, but many leave with a lingering sense that they were not alone. The shadows, the footsteps, and the unseen hands all suggest that the Lemps are still there, mourning the past and watching over the home that was both their greatest pride and the stage for their greatest sorrow. The Lalaurie Mansion, located in the heart of the French Quarter in New Orleans, Louisiana, is widely regarded as one of the most haunted houses in America. Its elegant facade and stately architecture mask a dark and disturbing past, one that continues to send chills down the spines of those who pass its gates. Built in the early 19th century, the mansion was home to Madame Delphine La, a wealthy socialite whose outward charm and status masked acts of unimaginable cruelty. Over the years, stories of her sadistic treatment of enslaved people within the mansion's walls have become legend, and many believe that the tortured spirits of her victims still linger, unable to find peace. The house itself is striking, with its tall wrought-iron balconies, pristine white exterior, and elegant symmetry. From the street, it seems a typical example of New Orleans' grand architecture, a testament to wealth and refinement. But those who dare to step through the gates are confronted with a palpable sense of unease. The mansion is said to exude a dark energy, as if the walls themselves remember the horrors committed within. Visitors often speak of a sudden chill as they approach, a coldness that seems unnatural in the otherwise humid New Orleans air. The legend of Madame Lalaurie is notorious. Known for her wealth and social influence in early 19th century New Orleans, she used her position to hide her cruel practices from the public eye. It was said that she inflicted unspeakable pain on her enslaved workers, chaining them, mutilating them, and subjecting them to torturous experiments. The mansion reportedly contained hidden rooms and secret chambers where these acts occurred, some of which remain sealed to this day. Stories passed down through the generations describe blood-curdling screams echoing from behind locked doors. Screams that were often dismissed or ignored by neighbors who feared confronting the powerful socialite. Even now, visitors to the Lalaurie Mansion report hearing those same chilling sounds. In the dead of night, the air is filled with high-pitched screams, as if someone is in unimaginable pain. Often, these cries seem to come from the upper floors or hidden parts of the house, and their origin cannot be traced. Some who have explored the mansion claim to feel an invisible presence following them, footsteps echoing when no one else is around, or a sudden, suffocating cold that grips them without warning. Apparitions are another common occurrence within the mansion. Witnesses have reported seeing shadowy figures in the hallways and flickering shapes in windows. Some claim to have glimpsed the spirits of young women in tattered clothing, faces pale and hollow, wandering the rooms as if still trapped in the suffering they endured in life. Others speak of a dark figure resembling Madame Lalaurie herself, her presence suffocating and oppressive, watching intruders with a cold, unyielding gaze. Paranormal investigators often note unexplained activity in these areas, including doors opening and closing on their own, lights flickering, and objects moving without any human contact. The mansion's bedrooms, once sites of opulent luxury, are now notorious for their paranormal activity. In certain rooms, visitors feel sudden drops in temperature so intense that their breath becomes visible, even in the humid air of New Orleans. Some report hearing the faint sounds of chains dragging along the floor or the low, agonized moans of those who suffered at Lalaurie's hands. In one particularly infamous room, several investigators claim to have captured inexplicable shadows on camera, moving across walls in ways that defy explanation. Others recount an almost unbearable sense of despair, as though the room itself is imbued with the suffering of countless lives. Even the exterior of the mansion seems touched by its dark history. The courtyard and balconies have a strange, oppressive aura, and some visitors report seeing fleeting figures staring from the upper windows. At night, the mansion's silhouette looms over the narrow streets of the French Quarter, a stark reminder of the violence and cruelty that occurred within its walls. Locals tell stories of hearing screams carried on the wind or of feeling icy fingers brush their shoulders as they pass by, as if the house itself reaches out to those who dare approach. Over the years, the Lalaurie Mansion has been the subject of countless investigations and television programs dedicated to paranormal activity. Investigators have captured unexplained sounds, temperature fluctuations, and even fleeting photographic anomalies, all pointing to the presence of entities that may be unable or unwilling to leave, replaying the horrors they endured, while others suggest that the house has absorbed the cruelty itself, manifesting in restless, malevolent energy. Despite its dark reputation, the mansion continues to fascinate visitors from around the world. Tours of the French Quarter often pass by its gates, and many are drawn to it by the stories of tragedy and terror that have endured for nearly 2 centuries. Those who enter the building itself often emerge visibly shaken, recounting experiences that range from fleeting shadows to direct physical sensations of being touched or followed. The Lalaurie Mansion, with its combination of historical significance and paranormal lore, remains a place where the boundary between past and present feels remarkably thin. In the end, the Lalaurie Mansion is more than just a historical site or a haunted house. It is a testament to the enduring power of memory, particularly memory tinged with pain and cruelty. The wealth, status, and outward beauty of the house cannot erase the horrors that occurred inside. For those who visit, the mansion offers not only a glimpse into the dark side of New Orleans history, but also an encounter with something far less tangible: the lingering presence of lives broken and souls unwilling to rest. Whether the sounds of screaming, the chill of sudden cold, or the shadowy figures that flit through the halls are real or imagined, the Lalaurie Mansion continues to stand as one of the most chilling reminders of human cruelty and the spirits that refuse to forget it. The Myrtles Plantation, located in St. Francisville, Louisiana, is widely regarded as one of the most haunted homes in America. Its stately antebellum architecture, sprawling grounds, and moss-draped oak trees paint the picture of Southern charm, but beneath its beauty lies a dark and unsettling history. Often referred to as a place cursed by tragedy, the plantation has long been the center of ghost stories, mysterious happenings, and chilling accounts from both visitors and staff. From the moment one steps onto the property, there is a palpable sense of history mingled with unease, as if the mansion itself remembers every whispered secret, heartbreak, and injustice that has taken place within its walls. The Myrtles Plantation was built in 1796 by General David Bradford and has changed hands many times over the centuries. It gained notoriety not only for its age and architectural beauty, but for the series of tragedies that have marred its history. Legend has it that the home was originally built atop an ancient Tunica Indian burial ground, an origin some believe contributed to the misfortune and dark energy that seems to linger to this day. Over the years, the plantation has been the site of multiple deaths, untimely accidents, and untold stories of suffering, particularly involving enslaved people who lived and worked there. One of the most famous spirits associated with the Myrtles is Chloe, a former enslaved woman who is said to have been involved in a series of tragic events within the home. Stories about Chloe vary, but the most widely circulated legend claims that she was punished severely for attempting to poison members of the family, though some versions suggest her intentions were misunderstood. Regardless of the truth, many believe her restless spirit still roams the plantation, wearing a green turban and watching visitors with mournful or vengeful intent. Guests often report glimpsing her in hallways, reflected in mirrors, or sitting quietly on the staircase, only to vanish when approached. The paranormal activity at the Myrtles plantation is far from limited to one ghost. Many visitors describe hearing mysterious footsteps echoing across the wooden floors of the grand house, particularly at night. These steps often come from areas that appear completely empty, including the long hallways and second-story bedrooms. Doors have been known to swing open and shut on their own, sometimes violently, as if propelled by unseen hands. Windows rattle for no reason, and lights flicker inexplicably, adding to the sense that something unseen is constantly present. Another commonly reported phenomenon involves the presence of children's spirits. Guests and staff alike have claimed to hear laughter and saw footsteps of children playing in rooms where no living children reside. Some have even caught glimpses of small figures running through hallways or disappearing around corners. These apparitions are often accompanied by sudden drops in temperature, making the atmosphere feel chilling despite warm weather outside. Investigators have suggested that these phenomena could be echoes of the many children who once lived and played on the plantation. Their lives often cut short by disease or tragedy. The plantation is also known for more disturbing sightings. Some guests report shadowy figures moving in the corners of their vision, shapes that seem human but vanish when confronted directly. Mirrors are said to act as portals, reflecting faces or figures that are not present in the room. In one of the bedrooms, visitors have recounted seeing Chloe's ghost appear suddenly, staring silently, before disappearing into the air. Others have described a heavy, oppressive feeling in certain rooms, as if unseen eyes are constantly watching and judging every movement. Over the years, the Myrtles plantation has become a magnet for paranormal investigators. Television crews and thrill-seekers ghost tours take visitors through the plantation's most haunted areas, including the grand parlor, the upstairs bedrooms, and the kitchen, each filled with a mixture of historical artifacts and lingering spirits. Investigators have reported capturing audio of faint whispers, knocking sounds, and even voices calling names when no one else is present. Cameras and night vision equipment have recorded unexplained mists, shadow figures, and anomalies that cannot be easily explained. Many who enter the home feel an almost immediate sense of unease, and some claim to have experienced physical sensations such as sudden chills, invisible touches, or the feeling of being pushed or watched. The plantation's exterior is also filled with stories of haunting. The sprawling gardens and oak-lined pathways are said to be frequented by shadowy figures at dusk. Guests walking the grounds have felt the sensation of someone following them or seen fleeting movements among the trees. Some believe that the ancient burial ground beneath the mansion contributes to the restless energy, while others think the tragedies that occurred in the home itself are enough to anchor spirits in the physical world. Despite terror, perhaps because of its dark reputation, the Myrtles plantation remains a popular destination for history buffs, paranormal enthusiasts, and curious travelers. It's a blend of southern charm, historical significance, and eerie atmosphere draws visitors from around the world, each hoping to glimpse a shadow, hear an unexplained sound, or encounter Chloe herself. The plantation has been featured in countless books, television shows, and paranormal documentaries, cementing its status as one of the most haunted locations in the United States. The Myrtles plantation is more than a historical site. It is a living museum of sorrow, injustice, and lingering spirits. Every creaking floorboard, every flickering light, and every echoing laugh serves as a reminder of the lives that once passed through the mansion. Whether the ghost of Chloe, the spirits of children, or the countless other unseen presences are real or figments of imagination, there is no denying the weight of the energy that fills the air. Visitors leave the Myrtles not just with photographs or souvenirs, but with an undeniable sense that the mansion's dark legacy is alive, watching, and very much present. For those brave enough to walk its halls, the Myrtles plantation offers a chilling encounter with the past. It is a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural collide, and where the spirits of those who suffered continue to make their presence felt. In every shadow, every whispered sound, and every cold breeze, the mansion reminds all who enter that some histories cannot be buried, and some souls never truly rest. The Transallegany Lunatic Asylum, located in Weston, West Virginia, is a sprawling and imposing structure that has long captured the imagination of both historians and paranormal enthusiasts. Constructed in the mid-19th century under the Kirkbride Plan, the asylum was designed to provide a therapeutic environment for patients suffering from mental illness. With its long corridors, large windows, and airy rooms, the building was intended to promote healing through light, ventilation, and structure. Yet over time, overcrowding, insufficient resources, and harsh treatment methods transformed the asylum into a place of suffering, despair, and death, leaving behind an energy that many claim still lingers within its massive stone and brick walls. Walking through the asylum's corridors today is an experience unlike any other. The high ceilings and long hallways echo every sound, and even small noises seem amplified in the vast, empty space. Shadows appear and disappear at the edges of vision, moving in ways that defy explanation. Visitors frequently report the sensation of being watched, a subtle pressure at the back of the neck, or the feeling that an invisible presence is following them. These eerie impressions are compounded by the natural atmosphere of the building, where peeling paint, cracked floors, and dim lighting give the asylum a sense of time standing still. From its earliest days, the Transallegany Lunatic Asylum was a place of tragedy. The population of the hospital frequently exceeded its intended capacity, and many patients suffered from neglect or mistreatment. Restraints, solitary confinement, and experimental therapies were commonplace, and countless lives ended within the walls without dignity or care. The echoes of this suffering are said to persist, manifesting as both audible and physical paranormal phenomena. Visitors often hear footsteps in rooms that have been empty for decades, or the distant sound of doors opening and closing on their own. Some have reported faint voices, murmuring, or calling out names that seem to follow them as they walk the darkened halls. Shadowy figures are among the most commonly reported apparitions within the asylum. These fleeting shapes are often seen moving at the edges of vision, vanishing when directly observed. Some witnesses describe them as human silhouettes, sometimes resembling patients or staff from past eras, wandering the hallways silently. Others have claimed to see figures in hospital gowns or uniforms standing in corners, only to disappear when approached. These visual encounters are often accompanied by a deep sense of unease, a feeling that the shadows are aware of the living presence and are intentionally observing or interacting with it. Certain areas of the asylum are notorious for particularly intense activity. The old patient wards, surgical rooms, and isolation areas are hotspots where visitors frequently report both visual and auditory phenomena. Cold spots are common in these locations, sudden drops in temperature that send shivers through those present. Some visitors describe feeling invisible touches or brushes against their arms, as if unseen hands are guiding or warning them. Others report objects moving inexplicably or hearing sounds of movement that cannot be accounted for by natural causes. Paranormal investigators often record these anomalies, noting disembodied voices, strange electrical disturbances, and other phenomena that suggest a lingering presence. The basement and isolation wards are particularly chilling, as though the weight of past suffering presses down upon them. Footsteps echo where no one walks, and faint whispers can be heard drifting from the dark corners. Some have even reported seeing fleeting figures darting across hallways or standing silently at the edge of vision, only to vanish when looked at directly. These experiences reinforce the idea that the asylum is far from empty and that the spirits of past patients remain very much present. Despite its dark history, the Transallegany Lunatic Asylum now functions as a historic site and paranormal attraction, drawing thousands of visitors each year. Guided tours allow guests to explore the vast complex, from the grand exterior to the long hallways and former patient rooms. Nighttime tours offer a particularly chilling experience, giving visitors a sense of the isolation and despair that once dominated the building. Many leave the asylum with stories of footsteps, shadows, cold spots, and whispers that defy explanation, forever marking the experience as unforgettable. For those who enter the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, the experience is more than just a glimpse into the history of mental health care. It is an encounter with the lingering spirits of those who suffered, died, and remained bound to the place that once held them captive. The shadows that flit across the walls, the strange sounds echoing through the empty halls, and the sudden chills that follow visitors serve as constant reminders that some energies cannot be easily erased. The asylum is a place where the past refuses to stay buried, where the echoes of pain and despair continue to roam the hallways, and where visitors can feel, in the most unsettling way, that history is alive, watching, and very much present. The Whaley House, located in the heart of Old Town San Diego, California, is widely regarded as one of the most haunted homes in the United States. Built in 1857 by Thomas Whaley and his family, the house stands on a site already steeped in dark history, was once the location of the town's gallows, where criminals and outlaws met their end. From its earliest days, the Whaley House has been intertwined with tragedy, misfortune, and stories of the supernatural. Today, it serves as both a historical landmark and a hotspot for paranormal activity, drawing visitors eager to experience the chills and unexplained phenomena that have plagued the property for more than a century. Thomas Whaley, a successful businessman and pioneer, constructed the home with hopes of establishing a stable family life and creating a symbol of prosperity in the young town of San Diego. The house itself is a fine example of Greek Revival architecture, with a stately facade, expansive windows, and a layout designed to accommodate both the family and the many commercial activities that took place within its walls. Despite these intentions, the home would become associated with misfortune and death from the very beginning. The gallows that once stood on the property were a lingering presence. Over the years, the Whaley House has been the scene of numerous tragedies, adding layers to its dark reputation. Several members of the Whaley family experienced untimely deaths, while other misfortunes befell the town itself. Visitors have long reported seeing ghostly apparitions wandering the halls, many of which appear dressed in period clothing, as if the spirits are frozen in the time they once inhabited. Among the most frequently cited is Thomas Whaley himself, often seen moving through the main rooms, inspecting the home or silently observing the visitors who wander its halls. Witnesses describe him as tall, dignified, and dressed in the style of the 19th century, his presence both commanding and unsettling. Phantom footsteps are a hallmark of the Whaley House. Guests and staff alike have reported hearing the sound of shoes scraping along wooden floors when no one is present. These footsteps often move from room to room, up and down stairs, and sometimes seem to follow visitors throughout the house. Some claim the footsteps stop abruptly when approached, as if the spirit is aware of being watched but remains unwilling to make direct contact. The repetitive and deliberate nature of the sounds has contributed to the house's eerie reputation, making even the bravest of visitors pause in apprehension. Unexplained voices are another frequent occurrence, from whispers in empty rooms to full conversations carried through the hallways. Visitors have often captured audio of sounds that defy explanation. Many describe hearing Thomas Whaley calling family members by name or speaking to unseen occupants of the home. Others report hearing laughter, crying, or even arguments in rooms that have been empty for decades. Paranormal investigators have noted that some of these voices appear to respond to questions or follow visitors from room to room, suggesting an interactive presence that is both fascinating and unnerving. The main living areas of the house, including the parlor and dining room, are often the focal points of paranormal activity. Apparitions are frequently seen in these spaces, moving across floors or disappearing suddenly behind doors. Mirrors and windows sometimes reflect fleeting images of figures who are not there, creating the unsettling impression that the house is simultaneously occupied by both the living and the dead. Some visitors have reported feeling sudden drops in temperature, cold drafts in otherwise warm rooms, or an invisible weight pressing down on their shoulders, as if the spirits themselves are nearby. Certain rooms carry reputations for particularly intense haunting. Bedrooms where Whaley family members once slept are said to be hotspots for unexplained activity, including objects moving on their own. The sensation of being touched, and shadowy figures appearing at the foot of the bed. Staircases are also common sites of activity, with visitors reporting the sound of footsteps ascending or descending, sometimes accompanied by the creak of floorboards, even when no one is present. Some investigators have noted that the energy in these areas is different, heavier, and more oppressive, giving the sense that past events continue to replay in an endless loop. The history of the site adds a unique layer to the haunting. Before the Whaley house was built, the gallows that occupied the property were the final resting place for several convicted criminals. It is believed that the spirits of those executed there have become intertwined with the Whaley family's spirits, creating a complex web of supernatural presence. Visitors have occasionally reported seeing figures in old-fashioned prison attire, their tragic fates forever linked to the land beneath the house. Today, the Whaley House functions as both a museum and a living reminder of San Diego's early history. Tourists walk its hallways, explore its rooms, and hear the stories of Thomas Whaley and his family. Ghost tours and overnight experiences provide a closer look at the supernatural activity, with guides recounting first-hand accounts of visitors encountering apparitions, hearing voices, or feeling invisible presences. Despite its dark reputation, the house remains a popular destination, drawing people fascinated by both its historical significance and its paranormal legacy. Whether it is the figure of Thomas Whaley, the footsteps echoing through empty halls, or the ghostly voices that seem to follow visitors, the Whaley House is a place where history and the supernatural intertwine, creating an atmosphere that is impossible to ignore. For those who step inside, it offers more than just a tour of a historic home. It provides an encounter with the unseen, a chance to feel the presence of lives that once occupied its halls, and perhaps a glimpse into the mysteries that continue to linger long after the living have departed. The Whaley House remains a chilling testament to the past, where the spirits of history, misfortune, and family continue to coexist with the living. Visitors leave with stories of shadows, sounds, and sightings that defy explanation, forever marking the house as a place where the veil between the present and the past is impossibly thin, and where the ghosts of San Diego's history refuse to be forgotten. The Bell Witch Cave, located in Adams, Tennessee, is one of the most infamous haunted sites in American folklore, a place where legend and fear converge in the shadows of the dense forest. The story of the Bell Witch has endured for more than 2 centuries, captivating historians, paranormal investigators, and thrill-seekers alike. It centers around the Bell family, who lived on a farm in the early 1800s and became the targets of a malevolent entity that terrorized them for years. While the family's ordeal is widely documented, it was the nearby cave believed to be a gateway or dwelling for the witch that has become a focal point for the haunted legacy, drawing visitors eager to experience the chilling energy that still lingers in the area. The legend begins with John Bell, a prosperous farmer, and his family, who settled near the Red River in Tennessee. First subtle, then increasingly violent, livestock went missing, objects moved without explanation, and eerie knocking sounds echoed through the farmhouse. Most alarmingly, members of the Bell family began to experience physical assaults by an unseen force. Slaps, scratches, and pinches occurred with no apparent perpetrator, and the attacks seemed to target both adults and children indiscriminately. Over time, the entity revealed itself as a witch, through voices and manifestations, speaking directly to the family and their neighbors, often taunting them with threats and insults. The Bell Witch Cave, located on the outskirts of the Bell family farm, is widely believed to have been one of the focal points of the spirit's activity. Visitors report that the cave emits an oppressive energy, a sense of being watched, and a lingering malevolence that can be felt as soon as one enters. The cave itself is narrow and winding, with low ceilings and jagged rock walls that seem to close in on those who step inside. Many say the darkness inside the cave is different from ordinary darkness, heavy and almost tactile, carrying with it a sense of danger and dread. It is here that many claim the witch still resides, angered by the centuries that have passed, yet refusing to let go of the power she once held over the Bell family. One of the most common experiences reported by visitors is the sound of unexplained noises. The cave is filled with knocks, bangs, and scraping sounds that seem to come from deep within the rock. Some claim to hear whispers in voices that are barely audible, often repeating warnings to leave or issuing veiled threats. Others report hearing laughter, moaning, and even chanting that has no source. Paranormal investigators using audio equipment frequently capture unexplained sounds, many of which cannot be explained by the natural environment or human interference. The pervasive noise seems to follow visitors as they move deeper into the cave, creating a sense that the spirit is actively monitoring and responding to their presence. Physical sensations are also commonly reported. Many visitors describe sudden, intense drops in temperature, icy gusts of wind in areas that are otherwise still and warm. Some claim to have felt invisible touches or even outright attacks, with scratches, pushes, or slaps occurring without any physical source. A number of people have reported their hair being pulled or their clothing tugged, accompanied by a suffocating feeling, as if the witch's anger is reaching out to them. These experiences often leave visitors shaken, some leaving the cave before exploring its full length due to an overwhelming sense of threat. The cave is not only a site of supernatural phenomena, but also a symbol of the historical events that fueled the legend. The Bell Witch's rage is said to stem from grievances dating back to John Bell's alleged disputes with a neighbor. And over time, the entity seemed to escalate its attacks on the entire family. The cave, located near the family's property, may have been seen by the witch as a strategic point for her hauntings, a place to retreat, observe, and launch manifestations. Today, those who enter the cave often report that the energy feels targeted, as if the witch herself is aware of intruders and reacts to their presence. Visitors often experience a sense of disorientation and unease within the cave. The winding passageways, uneven floors, and natural acoustics amplify every sound, making footsteps echo like gunshots and whispers seem like voices coming from every direction. Some report seeing shadows darting across walls or out of the corner of their eye, disappearing when looked at directly. Others describe a feeling of being followed, the presence growing stronger and heavier as they move deeper into the cave. But many experiences remain purely subjective, adding to the cave's mystique and terror. Over the years, the Bell Witch Cave has become a magnet for paranormal enthusiasts, historians, and tourists seeking to experience a piece of America's oldest ghost story. Guided tours allow visitors to explore the cave while learning about the Bell family and the witch's enduring legend. For many, the attraction lies not just in the history, but in the direct encounters reported by countless individuals over the years. Those who enter hoping for a thrill often leave with stories of inexplicable sounds, chilling sensations, and moments of genuine fear that defy rational explanation. Despite the centuries that have passed, the Bell Witch legend and the cave itself remains a powerful symbol of unresolved anger and supernatural influence. Whether the experiences are caused by spirits, residual energy, or the imagination, the cave carries an undeniable sense of malevolence that sets it apart from ordinary haunted sites. The combination of historical tragedy, natural isolation, and reported paranormal activity has made the Bell Witch Cave a site that is as terrifying as it is fascinating. For those who step into its dark passages, the Bell Witch Cave offers more than just a glimpse into American folklore. It is a place where history, legend, and the supernatural collide, where visitors can feel the lingering presence of a spirit enraged by events from centuries past. Every sound, shadow, and sudden chill serves as a reminder that some legends are not simply stories, they are echoes of events that continue to reach out from the past, waiting for those brave enough to enter and heed the warning. Leave before it is too late. The Bell Witch Cave endures as a chilling testament to fear, folklore, and the unrelenting power of a spirit that refuses to be forgotten. It remains a place where the line between history and the supernatural is blurred, where every visitor carries the memory of the Bell family and the witch whose wrath has echoed for generations, ensuring that the legend lives on, dark and very much alive. The St. Augustine Lighthouse, standing tall along the Florida coastline, is not only a beacon for sailors, but also a landmark steeped in mystery and tragedy. Its elegant, white tower rises over the city of St. Augustine, the nation's oldest continuously occupied European established settlement, while many visit to admire its historic architecture and breathtaking views of the Atlantic. The lighthouse has long been the center of chilling tales, ghostly sightings, and unexplained phenomena that have captivated the imaginations of both locals and paranormal enthusiasts. Its history is marked by hardship, loss, and eerie occurrences, making it one of the most haunted sites in Florida. Construction of the St. Augustine Lighthouse began in the late 19th century, a period of rapid expansion and development for the city. The project was fraught with challenges, including unstable ground, financial difficulties, and severe weather. Workers often faced dangerous conditions as they labored to erect the towering structure. It is believed that several men lost their lives during construction, their deaths a combination of accidents and harsh labor conditions. Local legend holds that the spirits of these men, unable to move on, remain bound to the lighthouse, their presence lingering in the stairwells, keeper's house, and surrounding grounds. Visitors have often reported hearing the echo of heavy footsteps climbing the stairs, even when the tower is empty. Some claim to feel invisible hands brush against them or a sudden sense of being watched as they ascend the spiral staircase, an experience both unnerving and inexplicable. The lighthouse's grounds have witnessed tragedy beyond the construction phase. Over the decades, accidents and untimely deaths in the surrounding area have added to its eerie reputation. Among the most persistent tales are those involving children, some of whom reportedly died nearby under mysterious or tragic circumstances. Many visitors have claimed to see apparitions of small figures running through the lighthouse grounds or disappearing suddenly around corners. These ghostly children are said to appear near the base of the tower or along the pathways. For those who encounter these apparitions, the experience is both unsettling and heartbreaking, a reminder of lives lost far too young. Inside the lighthouse itself, the paranormal activity is striking. The spiral staircase, leading from the base to the top of the tower, is often cited as the most active area. Guests frequently report hearing footsteps above or below their own. Though no one else is present, some describe faint whispers carried on the wind, voices calling names, or issuing warnings that seem to have no earthly source. Others report sudden temperature drops, cold spots that are impossible to explain given Florida's normally warm climate. Paranormal investigators have used audio and video equipment to capture phenomena such as unexplained orbs, shadow figures, and disembodied voices, lending credence to the many claims of supernatural activity. The lighthouse keeper's house, a Victorian-style home adjacent to the tower, is also known for strange occurrences. Once home to the families of those charged with maintaining the lighthouse, it now serves as a museum, preserving the history of the site while continuing to draw those fascinated by its haunted reputation. Guests in the house often report doors opening and closing on their own, lights flickering, and objects shifting unexpectedly. Some claim to see figures moving in the rooms, appearing and disappearing without warning. The presence is often described as friendly yet watchful, a reminder that the spirits may be curious about those who walk in their domain. Outdoor areas surrounding the lighthouse also carry their own supernatural energy. The dunes, pathways, and nearby marshlands are quiet and still, yet many visitors feel a presence moving unseen among them. Some report hearing children laughing near the edge of the marsh or the soft sound of voices speaking in low tones. Others have described shadowy figures flitting between the trees or across the sand, leaving an impression that something is observing them from a distance. The combination of natural beauty and the sense of lingering spirits creates a unique tension, a place where serenity and unease exist side by side. Over the years, the St. Augustine Lighthouse has become a popular destination not only for history enthusiasts, but also for paranormal investigators and thrill seekers. Nighttime tours offer a particularly haunting experience, allowing visitors to explore the tower, keeper's house, and surrounding grounds under the cover of darkness. Many who participate in these tours report feeling an unshakable sense of being watched, hearing footsteps and whispers that no one else can hear, or seeing fleeting shadows out of the corner of their eyes. Equipment used to document paranormal activity often records sounds and images that cannot be explained by natural causes, including faint cries, unexplained lights, and sudden cold spots in areas that should be warm. Despite the eerie stories, the lighthouse continues to function as both a historic landmark and a site of fascination for tourists and locals alike. The blend of historical significance, architectural beauty, and paranormal intrigue makes it a compelling destination. Visitors often leave with a mix of awe and trepidation, recounting experiences that defy explanation and adding to the long tradition of stories about the lighthouse. For some, it is the history of the lighthouse and the sacrifices made by those who built and maintained it that captures their imagination. For others, it is the possibility of encountering spirits that keeps the legend alive, a reminder that the past may be closer than anyone suspects. The combination of construction tragedies, unexplained phenomena, and the presence of spirits of children and workers alike has cemented the St. Augustine Lighthouse as a site where history and the supernatural intersect. Every creak of the staircase, every flicker of light, and every shadow moving across a wall serves as a reminder that the past is never truly gone. Visitors often report leaving with a lingering sense of the unknown, an impression that the spirits of those lost continue to watch over the lighthouse. Curious about the living who enter their space, the St. Augustine Lighthouse stands not only as a monument to maritime history and architectural achievement, but also as a testament to the enduring power of legend and memory. Its halls, grounds, and tower are filled with stories of lives lost, tragedies endured, and spirits that refuse to be forgotten. From ghostly footsteps and disembodied voices to apparitions of children who died nearby, the lighthouse offers a chilling but captivating encounter with the past. For those willing to step inside and explore its mysteries, the experience is unforgettable, a reminder that even in the brightest daylight, shadows from the past may linger, watching, waiting, and forever haunting the lighthouse that rises proudly over St. Augustine. Fort Warren, located on George's Island in Boston Harbor, Massachusetts, is a historic military fortification with a past steeped in both valor and tragedy. Constructed in the early 19th century as part of a coastal defense system, the fort gained notoriety during the Civil War, when it was used as a prison for Confederate soldiers and political prisoners. Over the years, Fort Warren has become not only a symbol of military history, but also a focal point for stories of paranormal activity. Visitors and researchers alike have reported eerie phenomena, strange lights, cold spots, and ghostly whispers that suggest the fort's past is far from silent. The energy of decades of tension, conflict, and imprisonment appears to linger within its stone walls, creating an atmosphere that is both haunting and captivating. Fort Warren's history as a Civil War prison is central to its reputation as a haunted site. During the war, the fort housed hundreds of Confederate prisoners, many of whom faced harsh conditions, isolation, and uncertainty about their fate. Though Fort Warren was considered one of the more secure and orderly prisons of the era, the psychological toll on inmates was immense. Soldiers endured long periods confined in small, dark cells, and the fear, frustration, and despair left behind an imprint on the fort's corridors that many believe still resonates today. Visitors often describe the oppressive weight of the past as soon as they step onto the island, with a palpable sense that the walls themselves remember every anguished shout, whispered plea, and secret meeting that took place within them. One of the most frequently reported experiences at Fort Warren involves cold spots that appear inexplicably throughout the fort. Visitors walking through the darkened corridors or along the stone ramparts often feel sudden drops in temperature, sometimes severe enough to make their breath visible, appearing in one specific area and disappearing just as suddenly. Paranormal investigators suggest that these fluctuations may be tied to the lingering energy of former soldiers, a manifestation of the fear and suffering they endured while imprisoned. Many who feel the chill report a simultaneous sensation of being watched, an invisible presence tracking their movements through the fort. Ghostly lights are another phenomenon that has become synonymous with Fort Warren. Multiple visitors have reported seeing unexplained orbs, flickering lanterns, or glowing figures moving along the outer walls or through the hallways. Some claim these lights resemble lanterns carried by soldiers or prison guards patrolling the fort centuries ago. Their forms barely visible but unmistakably human. The lights often appear and vanish without warning, creating the impression of activity from a time long past, as if continuing their duties beyond death. Whispers and murmurs echoing through empty corridors are a hallmark of the fort's paranormal reputation. Visitors often report hearing voices in rooms where no one is present, from soft conversations to anguished cries. Some say the whispers carry specific names or phrases, perhaps remnants of prisoners' final thoughts or guards' commands. These sounds are often accompanied by the sensation of movement just beyond the edge of vision, shadows flitting across walls, doors opening slightly, or a faint rustle of fabric. Even those skeptical of the supernatural often feel an undeniable unease, as if the fort is alive with echoes of the past, replaying moments that remain unresolved. Certain areas of Fort Warren are particularly active in terms of paranormal phenomena. The inner prison cells, where Confederate soldiers were confined, are notorious for producing strange occurrences. Visitors report hearing footsteps pacing the narrow hallways, doors slamming without cause, and faint singing or chanting in voices that sound both distant and close at the same time. Some have even claimed to see apparitions sitting quietly in the cells, staring out toward the corridor or vanishing suddenly when approached. These sightings often leave witnesses with an overwhelming feeling of sadness or dread, as though they are experiencing a fragment of the prisoner's suffering firsthand. The fort's ramparts and outer walls are also hotspots for activity. Guests exploring the perimeter often report seeing the ghostly figures of soldiers standing guard, rifles in hand, silently watching the water and sky. These apparitions are described as precise in posture and movement, echoing the discipline of military life. Some visitors have even seen figures climbing staircases or descending into hidden passageways that lead to the fort's underground areas, their forms vanishing as quickly as they appeared. The combination of historical authenticity and supernatural occurrence creates a uniquely chilling atmosphere, where the past seems to bleed seamlessly into the present. The tragic history of Fort Warren extends beyond its time as a prison. The fort has witnessed storms, shipwrecks, and accidents over the decades, contributing additional layers to its haunted reputation. Some claim to hear ghostly cries carried on the wind during high tides, or see fleeting figures moving along the shoreline. Others report strange sensations near the powder magazine or armory, areas long abandoned but charged with the weight of labor, fear, and preparation for battles that never came. The fort itself, with its thick stone walls and labyrinthine design, seems to amplify these sensations, turning natural sounds into something far more sinister and unexplained. Paranormal investigators have studied Fort Warren extensively, documenting numerous occurrences that defy conventional explanation. Using audio recording devices, infrared cameras, and temperature sensors, they have captured disembodied voices, sudden shifts in temperature, and unexplained lights. Many investigators report the feeling of being touched or followed, even when alone. These findings, combined with centuries of first-hand accounts from visitors, contribute to the fort's enduring reputation as a site where the veil between the living and the dead is exceptionally thin. Today, Fort Warren is open to the public, serving as both a historic site and a destination for those intrigued by paranormal activity. Tours allow visitors to explore the fort's ramparts, cells, and hidden corridors, often with guides recounting the stories of soldiers, prisoners, and unexplained occurrences. Many guests leave with tales of footsteps, cold spots, and ghostly figures, adding their experiences to the long history of encounters that have made the fort legendary. For some, it is a history lesson. For others, it is an encounter with the unknown. The combination of historical tragedy, disciplined military ghosts, and unexplained phenomena makes Fort Warren a unique location where past and present coexist in unsettling ways. Every step along the corridors, every glance down the ramparts, and every unexplained sound serves as a reminder that the fort is more than stone, and mortar is a repository of memory, suffering, and lingering spirits. The ghostly soldiers, cold spots, and whispered voices ensure that visitors cannot leave without sensing that Fort Warren remains alive with the presence of its past, a haunting testament to history, duty, and the enduring power of human experience. Fort Warren stands as a sentinel not just over Boston Harbor, but over centuries of memory and mystery. Its walls carry the echoes of soldiers, prisoners, and all who lived and died within its bounds. For those who venture inside, the fort offers an unforgettable journey into the past, where every shadow, every whisper, and every chilling touch tells a story of a place where the living and the dead meet, lingering together in a timeless and haunting embrace. The Driscoll Hotel, a landmark of elegance and history in downtown Austin, Texas, is more than just a symbol of luxury. It is one of the most haunted hotels in the United States. Built in 1886 by Colonel Jesse Driscoll, a wealthy cattle baron, the hotel was designed to be a grand statement of prosperity and sophistication. Its Romanesque architecture, complete with sweeping marble staircases, ornate woodwork, and sparkling chandeliers, quickly made it the social and political hub of Austin. Yet beneath its glamorous exterior lies a rich history of tragedy, mystery, and paranormal activity, making the Driscoll a place where the past continues to linger and interact with the living. From its earliest days, the Driscoll Hotel was tied to both triumph and sorrow. Colonel Jesse Driscoll invested his fortune into constructing a hotel that would rival any in the nation. Yet even during its construction, reports emerged of unexplained sounds, shadowy figures, and strange occurrences. Some workers claimed to hear voices or footsteps echoing through unfinished corridors, and a few even reported seeing fleeting apparitions. Many believe these early supernatural events foreshadowed the ongoing paranormal activity that would become a hallmark of the hotel, suggesting that the building itself was imprinted with the energy of both human ambition and human suffering. Over the decades, the Driscoll has been the site of countless events, from lavish parties and political gatherings to tragic accidents and mysterious deaths. Guests frequently report ghostly activity throughout the hotel, including sudden cold spots, eerie whispers, and fleeting shadows in hallways. Visitors have described seeing a tall, dignified man in a dark suit walking the halls late at night, sometimes near the grand lobby or the staircase he helped design. Witnesses often feel the sensation of being watched or followed by this imposing presence, as if the colonel is ensuring that the legacy of his hotel is being preserved. The guest rooms of the Driscoll Hotel are also rich with paranormal reports. Sudden drops in temperature are commonly reported, often accompanied by the sensation of invisible hands brushing against the skin. Some guests have experienced disembodied voices, whispers, or the sound of objects moving on their own. A few have even claimed to see full-bodied apparitions of women in period dress, wandering the hallways as if attending events from a century ago. These spirits are believed to be former guests or residents whose presence continues to linger in the spaces where life, celebration, and tragedy once intersected. The grand staircase, a centerpiece of the hotel's lobby, is particularly associated with supernatural phenomena. Guests often report seeing ghostly figures ascending or descending the stairs, hearing footsteps when no one is present, or feeling an inexplicable chill as they pass. Some have captured photographic anomalies or strange orbs of light near the staircase, while others describe an overwhelming sense of unease or the impression that someone is walking closely behind them. These experiences suggest that the staircase, like much of the hotel, is a focal point for the lingering energy of past occupants and visitors. In addition to the staircase, the Driscoll's ballrooms and event spaces are frequently linked to ghostly encounters. Guests report hearing faint music, laughter, and the rustle of dresses even when the rooms are empty. Shadows are often observed moving across walls, and lights occasionally flicker without cause. These occurrences hint at a presence that is not merely haunting but actively engaged with the space, perhaps replaying moments from the hotel's vibrant social history. Many paranormal investigators believe that these residual energies are a reflection of the emotional intensity and human activity that once filled the rooms. The hotel's architecture and design amplify the sense of haunting. Long hallways, high ceilings, and expansive ballrooms allow even minor sounds to carry an echo, creating an atmosphere where the supernatural can seem more present. The detailed craftsmanship and historical decor evoke the past, making it easier for visitors to imagine the spirits of former guests or staff continuing to occupy the space. In many ways, the building itself feels alive, a conduit between the living and the dead, where every shadow, whisper, and chill is a reminder of the hotel's layered history. Paranormal investigations and guided ghost tours have further cemented the Driscoll's reputation. Guests on overnight stays or specialized tours often recount vivid experiences, from seeing figures in the hallways to hearing disembodied conversations and footsteps. Many report that the activity intensifies during late-night hours. Investigators have captured audio anomalies, unexplained lights, and cold spots, which corroborate the stories shared by guests over the years. These documented encounters add credibility to the belief that the Driscoll Hotel is a site where the past never truly fades. The Driscoll Hotel's blend of elegance, history, and mystery offers visitors a unique experience. Guests not only step into a piece of Texas history, but also enter a space where the supernatural seems tangible. Each corridor, room, and staircase holds a story, and the energy of past events continues to resonate throughout the building. The presence of Colonel Jesse Driscoll, along with other spirits of former guests, serves as a reminder that the hotel is more than a structure of stone, and marble. It is a living repository of memories, both joyful and tragic, that refuse to remain silent. For anyone visiting the Driscoll Hotel, the experience can be thrilling, unsettling, and unforgettable. Every flickering light, unexplained noise, and shadow moving across the hallway offers a glimpse into the hotel's rich and haunted past. The combination of historical significance, architectural beauty, and paranormal activity creates a singular environment, one where history and the supernatural converge. The Driscoll remains a place where the living walk alongside the lingering spirits of the past, and where every step taken echoes with the stories of those who have come before. The Driscoll Hotel stands as a testament to Texas history, architectural grandeur, and the enduring power of legend. Its halls are alive with stories, its rooms filled with echoes of the past, and its staircases frequented by spirits who refuse to leave. Visitors come seeking luxury, history, or a brush with the supernatural, but all leave with the undeniable sense that the past is very much present. Ghostly sightings, cold spots, and disembodied sounds remind everyone who walks its halls that some spirits never truly depart, making the Driscoll Hotel an unforgettable blend of elegance and haunting. The Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California, is one of the most baffling and eerie architectural wonders in the United States. Built under the direction of Sarah Winchester, the widow of firearms magnate William Wirt Winchester, the sprawling Victorian mansion is a labyrinth of oddities. Its halls twist and turn unexpectedly, staircases climb into ceilings, and doors open to sheer drops outside. Every detail of the house is tied to a story of grief, guilt, and an unshakable belief in the supernatural. Sarah Winchester inherited a massive fortune after her husband's death in 1881. Along with the wealth, she gained control of half the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. The Winchester rifle, known as the gun that won the West, had been used in countless battles and conflicts, taking many lives. Legend has it that Sarah was deeply troubled by the bloodshed connected to her family's fortune. According to popular accounts, she sought guidance from a spiritual medium in Boston, who told her she was cursed, haunted by the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles. The medium reportedly warned Sarah that these spirits would never leave her unless she built a home for them. More than that, the construction could never stop. If she ceased building, the spirits would claim her life. Whether this was a product of genuine belief or a symbolic way to cope with grief, Sarah took the warning to heart. She left her home in Connecticut and traveled west, eventually settling in the Santa Clara Valley of California in 1884. There, she purchased an unfinished farmhouse and began an extraordinary project that would last for the rest of her life. For the next 38 years, carpenters worked on the property around the clock. As soon as one section was completed, new plans were drawn, and construction would shift to another part of the house. The result was a sprawling 160-room mansion with no clear master blueprint. The Winchester Mystery House became a patchwork of strange features. There are staircases that rise only a few steps before ending abruptly, doors that open into walls, and windows built into the floor. Some doors lead to sudden drops outside or to rooms several feet above the ground. Hallways wind in circles, sometimes doubling back on themselves. The number 13 appears frequently in the design: 13 steps and staircases, 13 glass panes in windows, and even 13 hooks in certain closets. One theory is that these bizarre features were meant to confuse and trap the vengeful spirits Sarah believed were after her. By creating a maze-like interior, she may have thought the ghosts would lose their way, giving her some measure of safety. Another possibility is that Sarah simply enjoyed experimenting with architecture and had the wealth to do so without restriction. Despite the unusual design, the mansion was ahead of its time in several ways. It featured indoor plumbing, forced stair heating, and even a type of elevator luxuries rare in the late 1800s. Some rooms were exquisitely decorated with imported materials, stained glass from Tiffany & Co., and rare hardwoods from around the world. Those who knew Sarah described her as a private, even reclusive woman. She rarely granted interviews and was seldom seen outside the property. Workers were loyal to her, and the constant building provided jobs for many during difficult times. But rumors spread about her unusual lifestyle. Locals whispered about her midnight, where she supposedly communicated with the dead to receive instructions on what to build next. Sarah Winchester passed away in her sleep on September 5, 1922, at the age of 83. When construction stopped, the house stood as a 24,000-square-foot puzzle of halls, rooms, and staircases. In the years since her death, it has been open to the public, drawing visitors fascinated by its history and alleged hauntings. Many believe the Winchester Mystery House is still inhabited by restless spirits. Guests and staff have reported strange occurrences: footsteps echoing in empty corridors, doors closing on their own, and cold spots in certain rooms. Some claim to see shadowy figures out of the corner of their eye or hear faint whispers. Paranormal investigators have visited over the decades, capturing unexplained sounds and strange photographs. The most famous ghostly resident is said to be Sarah herself. Visitors have claimed to see a small, veiled woman dressed in black roaming the halls or peering from windows. Other spirits are thought to be victims of Winchester rifle soldiers, frontiersmen, and even children whose lives were cut short. The grand ballroom and the seance room are often cited as hotspots for activity, with sudden temperature drops and the sensation of being watched. Even for those who do not believe in ghosts, the Winchester Mystery House remains an unmatched architectural curiosity. Every hallway, staircase, and oddly placed window tells part of Sarah's story, a mix of loss, superstition, and perhaps even obsession. The mansion's design defies logic, but in doing so, it preserves the mystery of the woman who built it. Over time, historians have debated the truth behind Sarah's motivations. Some argue that the story of the curse was exaggerated after her death, partly to promote the house as a tourist attraction. Others believe that while Sarah may not have feared literal ghosts, she was burdened by the moral weight of her inheritance. The never-ending construction may have been her way of giving meaning to her wealth. keeping workers employed and focusing her mind on creation rather than loss. Regardless of the truth, the Winchester Mystery House continues to captivate. It is both a monument to eccentricity and a physical representation of a deeply personal struggle. Visitors can still walk its winding halls, climb its staircases to nowhere, and stand in rooms where the past feels unusually close. The mansion invites questions, but offers no clear answers, just as Sarah herself left no definitive explanation for her life's work. Today, the Winchester Mystery House stands not only as a popular tourist destination, but as a symbol of how grief and belief can shape the world we leave behind. Whether it is truly haunted or simply an elaborate product of imagination and wealth, the mansion remains a testament to one woman's relentless pursuit of building a pursuit that did not end until the day she died. The echoes of hammers and saws may be long gone, but the mystery remains. The spirits, whether real or remembered, still walk the twisting corridors, and Sarah Winchester's legacy continues to grow with every visitor who steps inside, searching for the truth hidden within its walls. The Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio, is a monumental structure of both history and horror, standing as one of the most infamous prisons in the United States. Built in the late 19th century and opening in 1896, the facility was designed to house and rehabilitate male inmates from across the state of Ohio. Its Gothic architecture, massive stone walls, and imposing iron gates were intended to project authority and instill order. However, over the decades, the prison became synonymous with overcrowding, harsh conditions, and suffering, leaving an indelible mark on all who passed through its doors. Today, the reformatory is not only a historical landmark and a renowned filming location for The Shawshank Redemption, but it has also gained a reputation as a hub of paranormal activity, attracting ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and curious visitors from around the world. The prison's history is filled with accounts of violence, despair, and death. In its early years, overcrowding quickly became a problem, and the conditions for prisoners deteriorated. Solitary confinement cells, notorious for their psychological and physical strain, housed inmates for days, weeks, or even months at a time. Many prisoners reportedly experienced severe mental anguish during their stay, and some died under mysterious or tragic circumstances. It is these cells, in particular, that are believed to be the most haunted areas of the reformatory. Visitors who step into these confined spaces often report an overwhelming sense of oppression, as though the walls themselves are saturated with the memories of the suffering that occurred there. Shadow figures are among the most frequently reported paranormal phenomena at the Ohio State Reformatory. Guests describe fleeting forms at the edge of their vision that disappear when directly observed. These apparitions often resemble former inmates wandering the corridors or peering out from barred cells. Many witnesses report that these figures appear in areas tied to past tragedies, such as solitary confinement wings or upper cell blocks, suggesting that the spirits may still be bound to the locations where they once lived, suffered, and died. Visitors often feel as though these shadows are watching them, creating an unsettling atmosphere that is impossible to ignore. Auditory experiences are another hallmark of the reformatory's haunted reputation. Visitors frequently report hearing footsteps echoing along empty hallways, doors creaking or slamming on their own, and faint whispers that seem to come from nowhere. Some describe the murmurs as fragments of conversations or cries of pain, as though prisoners from decades past are replaying moments of their lives. These sounds are particularly prevalent in solitary confinement areas, where the psychological weight of past events seems to linger in the still air. Guests often report a chilling sense of presence, as if unseen entities are following them through the dark corridors. Temperature anomalies are also common throughout the reformatory. Sudden drops in temperature are frequently reported, particularly in the solitary confinement cells and upper tiers of the prison. Visitors often describe feeling icy drafts, cold spots, or a sudden shiver that runs down their spine with no apparent source. Some claim to have felt invisible hands or brushes on their arms and shoulders as they moved through the building. Paranormal investigators have recorded significant temperature fluctuations in these areas, which often coincide with other supernatural events such as shadow sightings or unexplained noises, adding weight to the idea that the spirits of the past remain active within the reformatory's walls. The prison's architecture enhances the feeling of haunting. Long, narrow hallways, high ceilings, and barred windows create an environment where even the smallest sounds echo unnaturally, amplifying tension and fear. The Gothic design, combined with the labyrinthine layout, adds to the disorientation and creates the impression that the spirits can move unseen. Hidden stairwells, tunnels beneath cell blocks, and upper tiers seem especially charged with energy, leading many visitors to believe that the most intense paranormal activity occurs where human suffering was most profound. The reformatory structure, both forbidding and intricate, becomes almost a character in itself, a silent witness to decades of hardship and unrest. The Ohio State Reformatory's cultural significance as a filming location further deepens its mystique. The 1994 film The Shawshank Redemption immortalized the prison's architecture and haunting ambience, introducing audiences worldwide to its imposing stone walls and shadowy corridors. Tourists often report that the building feels alive, as though the history captured in the movie blends with the real-life energy of the spirits that linger there. Guests frequently mention that while walking the halls, it feels as though past prisoners and guards are still present, replaying moments of their lives, their voices and footsteps echoing through time. Some of the most chilling experiences are reported in the upper tiers, solitary cells, and execution-related areas. Visitors describe a heavy, almost oppressive presence, as if something is standing behind them even when no one else is near. Shadows have been seen pacing silently along hallways, appearing briefly before vanishing into the darkness. Many guests leave these areas with a lingering sense of sadness or fear, as though they have glimpsed the anguish of lives that ended too soon. Paranormal investigators have also recorded unexplained audio phenomena, orbs of light, and sudden cold spots, which reinforce the reformatory's reputation as one of the most haunted prisons in the country. The Ohio State Reformatory is more than a historical site. It is a living reminder of the suffering, despair, and stories of those who once lived behind its walls. Shadowy figures, disembodied voices, footsteps, and cold spots are manifestations of the prison's layered past, providing visitors with a glimpse into the lives and spirits that continue to inhabit it. Every corridor, cell, and stairwell seems to hold a fragment of memory, a residual echo of experiences that refuse to be forgotten. For those who enter the Ohio State Reformatory today, the experience is unforgettable. Visitors walk through its corridors, knowing that they are treading the same floors where countless men lived, suffered, and in some cases, died. Every sound, shadow, and chill is a reminder that the prison's history is still very much alive. It is a place where architecture, history, and the supernatural converge, leaving guests with an enduring sense of awe and unease. The Ohio State Reformatory continues to stand as a monument to memory, suffering, and the unknown. Its walls are alive with echoes of the past, where shadow figures, whispers, and sudden chills serve as constant reminders that some spirits remain tethered to the world they once knew. It is a haunting place where the living and the dead coexist, and where every corner holds the undeniable presence of those who cannot rest, making the reformatory a uniquely chilling destination for history enthusiasts and thrill-seekers alike. The Oxford Hotel in Oxford, Mississippi, is a historic landmark that has long drawn visitors with its charm, elegance, and southern hospitality. Yet, behind its warm welcome lies a reputation for unexplained events and ghostly encounters that have given it a place among the most haunted hotels in the South. Guests and staff alike have reported strange occurrences: flickering lights, sudden drops in temperature, footsteps in empty hallways, and, most famously, the appearance of a mysterious man in period clothing who seems to belong to another time entirely. The building itself has a rich history, Established in the late 19th century, the Oxford Hotel served as a gathering place for travelers, local business people, and visiting dignitaries. Its location near the town square made it a hub of social life in Oxford. The architecture reflected the grandeur of the era, with tall ceilings, ornate woodwork, and large windows overlooking the bustling streets below. Through the decades, the hotel saw generations of guests come and go, weathered economic ups and downs, and stood as a witness to the changing face of the town. The stories of strange happenings began many decades ago and have persisted to this day. He is often described as wearing clothing from that period: a waistcoat, crisp white shirt, and dark trousers. His presence is not always menacing. In fact, many guests report simply catching sight of him out of the corner of their eye, standing silently in a hallway or lingering in the lobby before disappearing without a trace. Others have seen him reflected in mirrors, even when no one is physically in the room. One of the most common paranormal experiences at the Oxford Hotel is the sudden, unexplainable cold drafts. Guests describe feeling an icy breeze rush past them, even in the heat of Mississippi summers when the air outside is thick and warm. These chills often occur in specific parts of the hotel: on the main staircase, in a corner of the lobby, and in certain rooms on the second floor. Maintenance crews have investigated more than once, checking for hidden vents or air leaks, but no logical source for the drafts has ever been found. Some guests report being awakened in the middle of the night by the sensation of someone standing beside their bed. A few have even claimed to feel a gentle tug on their blanket or the sound of faint footsteps moving across the floorboards. When they turn on the light, the room is empty. Others hear distant laughter or hushed voices in the hall, only to open the door and find no one there. The hotel staff, while professional and discreet, quietly acknowledge that they've had their own encounters. Housekeepers have reported entering a room they knew was empty, only to find the rocking chair in the corner swaying, as if someone had just stood up from it. A front desk clerk once swore that he saw a man in old-fashioned clothing walk past the counter and head toward the elevators. Yet the security camera footage showed no one there. Another employee recalls setting up a meeting room late at night when the chandelier above began to sway gently, even though there was no sign of a draft or movement in the building. The mysterious man in period clothing is not the only spirit said to roam the Oxford Hotel. Some guests speak of hearing a woman's voice singing softly, the melody carrying faintly through the air. No one has been able to trace the source of the song. There are also stories of a faint scent of pipe tobacco in the hallways late at night, even though smoking has been banned inside the building for decades. These small, sensory clues add to the feeling that the hotel is inhabited not just by the living but by echoes of the past. Historians have speculated about who the man in period clothing might have been. One theory is that he was a traveling businessman who frequented the hotel in its early days, possibly passing away suddenly during a stay. Another suggests he might have been a local figure, perhaps even someone involved in the management of the hotel when it first opened. Without definitive records, the man's identity remains as elusive as his fleeting appearances. Despite its haunted reputation, the Oxford Hotel remains a beloved part of the community and a popular destination for travelers. Many guests book a stay precisely because of the ghost stories, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious man or to experience one of the cold drafts for themselves. The hotel's management has embraced its paranormal reputation in a tasteful way, preserving its historical charm while allowing guests to explore the building's haunted history through special tours and storytelling evenings. The combination of the hotel's age, its well-preserved architecture, and the countless lives that have passed through its doors make it a natural setting for ghostly lore. Whether the sightings are the result of overactive imaginations, tricks of the light, or genuine paranormal activity, they have become an inseparable part of the Oxford Hotel's identity. The idea that a piece of the past still lingers within its walls seems fitting for a building that has stood for well over a century. Those who have stayed overnight often describe a strange sense of connection to history, as if the walls themselves remember the stories of the people who once filled the rooms. Some find it comforting, imagining that the spirits are not restless, but simply keeping watch over a place they once loved. Others admit to feeling a sense of unease, especially when walking the halls alone late at night, the sound of their footsteps echoing on the old wooden floors. The Oxford Hotel's legacy is one of elegance touched by mystery. The man in period clothing, the cold drafts, the phantom voices, and the lingering scent of tobacco all weave together into a tapestry of ghostly folklore. For some, the idea of a haunted hotel is thrilling. For others, it's unsettling. But for everyone who has walked its halls, there's no denying that the Oxford Hotel offers more than just a night's lodging. It offers an experience, a brush with the unexplained, and a story to carry home. In the heart of Oxford, Mississippi, the hotel continues to welcome new guests every day. Its rooms filled with the same warmth and charm that have defined it for over a century. And somewhere within those walls, perhaps in the shadow of a staircase or just around a corner, the man in period clothing still lingers, watching quietly as the living go about their stay, leaving behind their own small footprints in the ever-growing story of the Oxford Hotel. The Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa, is one of the most infamous haunted locations in the United States. On June 10, 1912, a gruesome crime took place inside the modest white house that still stands today. 8 people, including 6 children, were brutally murdered in their sleep with an axe. The victims were the Moore family, Josiah and Sarah Moore, along with their 4 children and 2 young friends, Lena and Ina Stillinger, who were spending the night after attending a church event. The killer, or killers, was never caught, and the mystery of that night has lingered for over a century. The crime shocked the small farming town. The brutality was beyond comprehension. All the victims were bludgeoned in the head, most beyond recognition. The curtains had been drawn, mirrors covered, and every door locked from the inside. Investigators at the time found a plate of uneaten food and a basin of bloody water in the kitchen, but no signs of forced entry. Despite several suspects being questioned over the years, the case went cold, and no one was ever convicted. The unsolved nature of the crime, paired with the horrific details, laid the groundwork for the legends that now surround the house. For decades, the house sat quietly as just another private residence. But in the 1990s, it was restored to its 1912 appearance and opened to the public. That's when the stories of strange occurrences began to multiply. Visitors stepping inside often describe a heavy, oppressive atmosphere that seems to cling to the air. Some feel watched from the moment they enter, as though unseen eyes are following their every move. Paranormal investigators, thrill seekers, and curious tourists have all reported unexplained phenomena. One of the most common claims is the sound of children laughing or giggling when no one else is in the house. Footsteps are often heard, pacing up and down the narrow staircase or across the upstairs rooms. Doors open and close on their own, sometimes slamming with enough force to startle even the most skeptical guests. Cold spots appear suddenly, as if someone invisible has walked through the room, bringing with them an icy chill. These cold drafts happen even in the middle of a humid Iowa summer, when the house is otherwise stifling hot. Many have also claimed to see shadowy figures darting from room to room, or standing silently at the ends of hallways. Sometimes, these figures appear small, like children. Other times, they are described as tall and menacing, as if an unseen hand brushed against them or shoved them forward. Flashlights inexplicably flicker, batteries drain in minutes, and cameras malfunction without reason. The upstairs bedrooms are said to be particularly active. In the room where the Stillinger sisters slept, some guests have heard soft whimpering or whispered conversations. Others claim to have felt a bed shake beneath them during overnight stays. Paranormal teams have recorded mysterious voices through EVP, electronic voice phenomena sessions, with responses that seem intelligent, answering questions with chilling accuracy. The crime scene itself still evokes a deep sense of unease. Standing in the small parlor where the family's lifeless bodies were first discovered can be overwhelming for some. The combination of history and tragedy seems to have imprinted itself on the very walls. Even seasoned ghost hunters often leave with more questions than answers. Skeptics argue that the eerie experiences could be explained by the power of suggestion, the creaks of an old house, and the psychological weight of knowing the dark history. Yet, those who have visited and experienced the unexplainable firsthand often walk away convinced that something supernatural lingers in Villisca. Whether these manifestations are the restless spirits of the victims, a residual echo of the violence, or something darker entirely, no one can say for certain. The Villisca Axe Murder House remains a popular destination for those fascinated by true crime and the paranormal. Daytime tours allow visitors to learn about the history of the murders and see the home as it was in 1912. Overnight stays, however, are not for the faint of heart. Guests bring sleeping bags and flashlights, but few manage to sleep soundly. The darkness in the house is thick, and the silence is broken only by unexplained noises that leave hearts pounding. To this day, the case of the Villisca Axe murders remains officially unsolved. Theories range from an unknown drifter passing through town, to a personal grudge against Josiah Moore, to a traveling serial killer. But the truth may never be known. What is certain is that the events of that summer night left a permanent mark, not just on the town of Villisca, but on anyone who dares to step into the house where it happened. Those who visit often leave with a lasting impression, an unease that follows them long after they be gone. Some say they carry home a piece of the house's heavy energy. Others report vivid dreams or strange happenings after their visits. Whether it is the ghosts of the Moore family and their young guests, or the echoes of a crime that shocked the nation, the Villisca Axe Murder House holds on to its secrets tightly. It stands as a chilling reminder that sometimes the past refuses to rest in peace. The Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, stands grandly on a hilltop. Its stately Victorian architecture overlooking the town below. Built in 1886, the hotel was intended to be a luxurious resort for wealthy travelers seeking the healing waters of the nearby springs. Over the decades, however, its elegant halls have collected more than just stories of fine dining and lavish parties. They have absorbed tales of tragedy, mystery, and the supernatural. Today, it is known as America's most haunted hotel, a title reinforced by countless reports of ghostly encounters, strange knocks on doors, and sudden, unexplained cold spots that seem to follow visitors down its long corridors. The Crescent Hotel's history is filled with dramatic turns. After its original run as a resort faded, the building was used as a women's college and later as a hospital in the 1930s. It was during the hospital years that its darkest chapter unfolded. Norman Baker, a con artist posing as a doctor, purchased the property and transformed it into the Baker Cancer Hospital. He claimed to have a cure for cancer, attracting desperate patients from across the country. In reality, his treatments were worthless, and many patients died within the walls of the building. Baker's operation was eventually shut down, but the damage had been done. The Crescent Hotel was forever linked to suffering and death. Many believe the restless spirits of Baker's patients, as well as those from other eras of the building's history, still roam the halls. Guests and staff report seeing figures dressed in hospital gowns wandering aimlessly, as if searching for something. One of the most frequently cited apparitions is a nurse pushing a gurney down the hallway of the old hospital wing. Witnesses say she often appears late at night, disappearing through a wall where a door once existed. Another well-known ghost is Michael, a stonemason who fell to his death during the hotel's construction. His presence is most often felt in room 218, where guests have reported the sound of footsteps pacing above them, despite the fact that the room sits on the top floor. Doors in the room sometimes slam shut on their own, lights flicker, and objects move without explanation. Some visitors have even claimed to feel an unseen hand touch them while they sleep. The Crescent Hotel's grand lobby and dining room are also said to be active with paranormal energy. Guests have described seeing a man dressed in Victorian-era clothing sitting quietly at a table before vanishing when approached. Others have heard faint music, clinking glasses, and the sound of a lively party echoing from empty rooms. One of the eeriest locations in the hotel is the basement, which once served as the morgue during Baker's hospital years. It now houses some of the building's historical displays. But visitors say the air there feels heavy and cold, even in the middle of summer. Many report feeling watched, and some have seen shadow figures moving in the corners. A cold draft often flows through the space, though no source for it has ever been identified. Strange knocks are another common occurrence at the Crescent Hotel. Guests lying in bed at night often hear tapping or rapping sounds at their doors. When they open the door, no one is there. In some cases, the knocks seem to follow a pattern, as if someone or something is trying to send a message. Staff members have experienced the same phenomenon while working late, with knocks echoing down the hallways in otherwise silent areas. Cold spots are perhaps the most reported phenomenon of all. These sudden, icy chills often appear without warning, sometimes in the middle of a warm room. Guests describe walking through them as though stepping into a refrigerator, only for the air to return to normal a few feet later. Paranormal investigators have documented dramatic temperature drops in certain areas of the hotel, particularly near the old hospital wing and in room 419, where a female apparition known as Theodora is said to appear. Theodora is believed to have been one of Baker's patients. Guests staying in her room have reported meeting a polite, well-dressed woman who introduces herself as a cancer patient before disappearing entirely. Her presence is gentle, though her sudden vanishing leaves visitors stunned. The hotel's grounds are no less mysterious. The gardens, which are beautifully maintained today, were once the site of outdoor activities for patients and guests alike. Several visitors have claimed to see ghostly figures strolling among the flowers or sitting on benches, only to fade away upon closer inspection. Some even hear laughter or hushed conversations coming from empty corners of the property. The Crescent Hotel has embraced its haunted reputation, offering nightly ghost tours that guide visitors through its history and its most active areas. These tours often include the old morgue, the most requested rooms, and the hallways where countless guests have experienced unexplained events. Many who arrive as skeptics leave with stories of their own weather. It's a photograph capturing a strange mist, the feeling of a cold hand on their shoulder, or the sound of footsteps matching their own. Over the years, paranormal researchers, television crews, and countless independent investigators have tried to document the activity at the Crescent Hotel. While some believe the events can be explained by natural causes, others are convinced the building is alive with spiritual energy. The sheer volume of consistent reports, spanning decades and coming from guests, staff, and professionals alike, has made the hotel one of the most studied haunted sites in America. For those who stay overnight, the experience is unforgettable. The mix of luxury, history, and an ever-present sense of mystery creates an atmosphere unlike any other. Some guests enjoy the thrill of possibly encountering a ghost, while others simply appreciate the hotel's stunning architecture and fascinating past. But nearly everyone who visits agrees on one thing: the Crescent Hotel feels different. Its walls seem to hum with memory, its halls alive with echoes of the past. Whether one believes in the paranormal or not, the stories of the Crescent Hotel endure, passed down from one generation of visitors to the next. From the tragic days of Norman Baker's hospital to the present, the building has stood as a silent witness to joy, sorrow, and everything in between. The knocks on the doors, the sudden chills, the shadowy figures that vanish in an instant are part of the hotel's unique identity. High on its hill in Eureka Springs, the Crescent Hotel remains a place where history and the unexplained walk side by side. Guests arrive for a night of comfort, but often leave with something more: a memory of a moment they cannot quite explain, and the lingering thought that perhaps, just perhaps, they were not alone. The House of the Seven Gables in Salem, Massachusetts, stands as both a literary landmark and one of the most intriguing historic homes in America. Its dark, sloping gables and weathered wooden exterior overlook Salem Harbor, carrying with them centuries of history, rumor, and haunting tales. Built in 1668 by merchant and shipowner John Turner, the house has seen generations of occupants, each leaving behind their own mark. But it is the combination of Salem's infamous witch trials, family misfortunes, and the imagination of author Nathaniel Hawthorne that has given the house its reputation as a place where the past is never truly gone and where ghostly apparitions, phantom footsteps, and whispers in the night still trouble its halls. The home gained literary immortality through Hawthorne's 1851 novel, The House of the Seven Gables, which was inspired by both the physical building and the real-life stories associated with it. Hawthorne, whose own ancestor, Judge John Hathorne, played a role in the 1692 Salem witch trials, wove themes of guilt, retribution, and lingering spirits into his work. These themes resonated strongly with the house's own history, filled with tales of secrets, disputes, and unexplained events. Over the centuries, the house passed through several families and underwent changes, but much of its original character remains intact. Visitors walking its creaking floors often remark on the way the house seems to watch them. In daylight, its historic rooms feel steeped in New England charm, and the air carries a stillness broken only by sounds that have no visible source. One of the most persistent reports from the House of the Seven Gables is the appearance of ghostly figures. Guests and staff have seen shadowy shapes moving from room to room, sometimes pausing in a doorway as though to observe before fading into thin air. A woman in period clothing has been spotted gliding silently through the halls. Some believe she may be the spirit of a former resident connected to the Turner or Ingersoll families who owned the property for generations. Another common experience is the sound of footsteps on the old wooden floors, often when the house is otherwise empty. These footsteps are described as slow and deliberate, echoing along the narrow hallways and up the steep, secret staircase hidden within the house. Guides conducting evening tours have paused mid-sentence upon hearing these phantom steps, only to find no one there. Whispers are also part of the home's ghostly reputation. In the dead of night, or during the quietest moments of a tour, visitors claim to hear soft voices speaking just beyond their hearing range. Sometimes it is a single voice, low and urgent, and other times it seems like two or more people engaged in a hushed conversation. The words are rarely clear, but the tone is often described as secretive, as if the speakers are aware they should not be overheard. Many believe these strange occurrences are tied, in part, to Salem's dark history. The witch trials of 1692 left a deep scar on the town and its people. Although the House of the Seven Gables was not directly involved, its connection to Hawthorne and his ancestor S. role in the trials has linked it forever to that period. Visitors sometimes describe feeling an oppressive weight in certain rooms, a heaviness that lifts once they step back outside. Some of the most active spots in the house are the attic and the secret staircase. The attic, once used for storage and possibly as quarters for servants, is often the site of sudden cold drafts that cannot be explained by open windows or vents. People who linger there have reported feeling watched, and a few have even claimed to hear the faint sound of a child's laughter. The secret staircase, narrow and steep, is a favorite feature for tourists, but some hesitate to climb it after feeling an icy touch on their arm or hearing a faint sigh behind them. In the dining room, where the families once gathered for meals, the clinking of invisible glassware and the rustle of fabric have been reported. On more than one occasion, guides have set the table for display, only to return and find chairs pulled slightly away, as if unseen guests had taken a seat. In the master bedroom, visitors sometimes detect the scent of old-fashioned perfume lingering in the air, though no one has sprayed anything in the room. The gardens outside, now beautifully maintained, are no less mysterious. Early morning visitors have claimed to see figures moving between the hedges or standing silently by the harbor wall, only for the forms to vanish when approached. The sound of footsteps on the graveled paths, with no one visible, has startled more than a few guests. The House of the Seven Gables has embraced its haunted reputation in much the same way Salem itself has embraced its layered history. Ghost tours and evening programs recount the legends and the documented experiences of those who have stayed or worked in the house. Many who arrive as skeptics leave unsettled, carrying with them the memory of a whisper too close to ignore or a shadow that moved against the light. Historians and paranormal investigators alike have been drawn to the property. Some argue that the creaks, drafts, and sounds are simply the byproducts of an old wooden structure settling with age. Others insist the frequency and consistency of the reports suggest something more. Audio recordings have captured faint voices when no one was present, and photographs have revealed unexplained mists or human shapes. Whether the house is truly haunted or simply a master at playing on the human imagination, it continues to attract thousands of visitors each year. They come for the history, the connection to Hawthorne's novel, and the chance to experience something out of the ordinary. For many, the moments they remember most are not the well-preserved antiques or the harbor view, but the instant they turned to see who was following them only to find the hallway empty. The House of the Seven Gables stands as a reminder that some places carry their past with them in ways that cannot be measured or explained. Its walls have absorbed centuries of laughter, grief, secrets, and perhaps regrets. The apparitions, the footsteps, the whispers in the dark hall are threads in a story still being told, night after night, in a house where the past never entirely lets go. The RMS Titanic remains one of the most tragic and haunting maritime disasters in history. When the ship struck an iceberg and sank in the freezing waters of the North Atlantic on April 15, 1912, over 1,500 lives were lost. The sheer scale of the disaster, coupled with the stories of heroism, heartbreak, and terror, has ensured that the Titanic's legacy is steeped in both history and mystery. While the ship itself lies deep beneath the ocean's surface, memorials, artifacts, and relics connected to the tragedy can be found all over the world. And for many who visit these places, the Titanic's story feels eerily alive, as though the spirits of those lost still linger, unwilling to be forgotten. Over the years, strange reports have emerged from various Titanic memorial sites. In Washington, D.C., the Titanic Memorial stands tall by the Potomac River, a serene statue dedicated to the men who sacrificed their lives so that women and children could be saved. Many visitors describe feeling an overwhelming wave of sorrow when standing before the statue, a heaviness in the chest that seems almost physical. Some have even claimed to hear faint sobbing or murmured voices on still evenings, as though the last cries from that fateful night are carried across time. In Belfast, Northern Ireland, where the Titanic was built, the Titanic Belfast Museum draws thousands of visitors every year. Within its exhibits are original artifacts retrieved from the wreck site, personal belongings, pieces of the ship, and items that once filled the Titanic's lavish interiors. Security staff and cleaning crews have quietly spoken of unusual occurrences after hours. Display cases rattle when no one is near. Motion sensors are triggered in empty rooms. A few staff members insist they have heard the faint sound of music, an old-fashioned waltz, like the ones played by the Titanic S-band as the ship went down, drifting through the air long after the museum has closed. Perhaps the most unsettling experiences come from traveling Titanic exhibitions, which display recovered relics in different cities around the world. These artifacts, which spent decades in the cold darkness of the ocean floor, are often said to carry a lingering energy. Museum workers have spoken of shadowy figures glimpsed out of the corner of the eye, only to vanish upon a second look. Visitors report feeling sudden chills, or even a hand brushing against their shoulder when no one is there. Some psychics who have attended these exhibitions claim that the objects themselves hold imprints of the passengers. Final moments, like echoes trapped in time. In Halifax, Nova Scotia, where many of the Titanic's victims were brought to shore and buried, the cemetery, where over 100 passengers rest, has become another focal point for strange activity. Tourists walking among the gravestones have described hearing faint footsteps behind them, though no one is there. Others claim to have heard the distant ringing of a ship's bell. The most chilling accounts tell of seeing figures in early 20th century clothing wandering the rows of graves before fading into nothing. Some of the eeriest stories involve private collectors who own Titanic artifacts. One such collector, who purchased a deck chair from the ship at an auction, told of it rocking slowly on its own in a still room. Another claimed that a recovered life jacket seemed to move slightly when left unattended, as if stirred by invisible hands. Whether these incidents are the product of imagination or something beyond, the pattern is consistent. The closer people are to these relics, the more they feel an undeniable presence. Skeptics often argue that the Titanic's haunting reputation is fueled by its fame and the emotional weight of its story. They point out that the human mind is prone to interpreting random sounds and movements as supernatural when primed by tragedy. Yet even the most skeptical visitors sometimes leave Titanic memorials with a sense that they have been in the company of something they cannot explain. The idea of restless spirits clinging to Titanic artifacts is not difficult to understand. The sinking was a sudden, violent event, and many of the victims never had the chance to say goodbye to their loved ones. For some believers, this creates a kind of spiritual residue, emotions and memories so powerful that they leave a permanent mark on objects connected to the disaster. From this perspective, every artifact is more than a piece of history. It is a silent witness to unimaginable fear, courage, and loss. Visitors who have experienced something strange at these memorials often describe it not as frightening, but as deeply moving. The voices, shadows, and sensations seem to carry a message. Remember us. Whether they are true hauntings or simply the weight of collective memory, these encounters keep the Titanic's story alive in a way that no textbook could. They make the tragedy feel real, immediate, and personal. From Washington, D.C. to Belfast, from Halifax to traveling exhibitions across the globe, the Titanic's legacy is preserved in stone, metal, and glass. And yet, for those who believe in ghosts, it is also preserved in whispers on the wind, in the fleeting glimpse of a figure dressed for a voyage that ended over a century ago, and in the inexplicable feeling that you are not alone when you stand before a memorial. The Titanic's memorials are more than places to honor the dead. They are touchstones to a night that forever changed maritime history. And for those sensitive to such things, they are also places where the past refuses to stay silent. Whether the spirits of the Titanic truly roam these sites, or whether it is the power of human remembrance creating the illusion, the result is the same. The story of the Titanic continues to be felt, not just told. Even now, over 100 years later, its echoes still travel through time, reminding us that some tragedies never fully fade into history. And there you have it, 20 of the most haunted places in the United States. Each location holds stories of tragedy, mystery, and restless spirits, some waiting to be seen, some only to be felt. If you ever visit these places, tread carefully. You might not be alone. Thank you for joining me on this chilling journey. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a tale from the shadows. Until next time, keep your lights on and your courage close.